guys, happy Monday. As you can see, I'm finally in my new place. Still getting the office set up, so this angle might change over time here. But I am very excited for this week's episode. I've been talking about it for weeks, guys, and sorry, stuff came up and we weren't able to do it. But this week we are doing the fat pride, fat acceptance movement, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to preface this by saying, guys, we're not trying to come at anybody. We're not trying to piss anyone off, even though I know we will. I just thought it was an interesting topic because I feel like, and this can go for a couple different topics. This can go from abortion to vaccines to everything. I feel like sometimes people get so into their fight that they're not willing to see the reality of some things or willing to look at facts that might be hard to digest. You know, like sometimes things are offensive and it is what it is. That's life. But I was watching.
I like how you said that.
What I was watching have you ever seen that My 600-Pound Life?
Yes.
So there was a girl on there who got paid, like she made money eating stuff in front of a camera for these people. It was like a fetish thing.
Wow.
And she talked in there. She's like, it doesn't bother me my weight. I feel fine. Even though, and this is kind of where it circled back, was she was like, even though I know, like, I really want kids. And if I ever do want kids, like, I know I'll have to lose some weight, but for now it's fine. So it's like, it was in the back of her mind that she knows her size is unhealthy, but she's also not unhealthy. And so that's where this whole thing where people get into the disagreements is some people say, well, just because I'm overweight doesn't mean I'm unhealthy. But then they'll also on that flip side complain if a chair breaks because it's not holding their like 300, 400 pound frame. And it's just like, I feel like, now I'm not for bullying in any sense. And I like, obviously you should feel comfortable in who you are and no one should make fun of you for it. But at the same time, I feel like you have to acknowledge that there's a certain point in which, in the same way that when we were young and those models were way underweight and that was unhealthy, it is also very unhealthy to be overweight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because it's not so much the fact that they're overweight or obese, however you would like to say that. It's just the fact that because with that comes cardiovascular health risks, your blood sugar, diabetes, high blood pressure. And I think that that's really where it comes from, is just the fact that there's just health risks. And it comes from a more place like I feel like I said in the beginning, what you were saying was that it was more of a place of, you're saying it from love. You know, you're not trying to come at anybody. It's all about, you're saying this from love, from a health, I don't want to say healthcare standpoint, but from a health perspective, there we go. From a health perspective, no matter what size you are, the point is just to be healthy.
I think it gets misconstrued sometimes where people are just like, now, obviously there's people who are just going to be assholes to be assholes. There's those kind of people out there. Yeah. But like what I said about the people get so into their fight, like people will, if you say anything about it, they'll be like, oh, you're fat shaming me, or oh, you're this and you're that and you're a bigot and you're this. And it's like everyone's so quick to just throw out an insult now and call you something. Mm-hmm. Instead of having a discussion about it. And
absolutely,
I just felt like, I mean, and this is coming from someone, I'm not a skinny mini myself. I'm in the current process of a weight loss journey. My entire life has kind of been a weight loss journey. I have one of those body types where I gain weight really easily. So I have fluctuated since from high school to now. I've been everywhere from 125 to 230. Like I've been, so it's like, this coming from a place where I've been there and I get it, but it's just because someone says something about the fact that you might be unhealthy, or if they say or if a guy isn't into you because you're bigger, it doesn't mean they're necessarily fat shaming you or big. People are into what they're into any more than if you're not attracted to a guy who's 400 pounds. Does that make you a bigot? Like, no, you like what you like sometimes. It is what it is. And there's plenty of guys out there that like big girls.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. And I think it depends on their culture too, because I was just thinking about that. I used to know this guy years ago who, I mean, if like for me, geez, I was, man, I don't remember how much more lighter, I don't want to say lighter, but how much less I weighed at this time when we were all going out together. But I mean, he actually preferred, in his country, I would have been unhealthy, because I wasn't a bigger female, so like it depends on the culture too, because if you were what we would call in the United States healthy weight, like for me, I'm considered obese, I am overweight or whatever, like when you look at those BMI charts and I'm like,
BMI is such bullshit. I don't like BMI.
BMIs are bull crap. And I was actually like, okay for my BMI, but to him, he told me like in his country, I would have been unhealthy and he would have preferred somebody who was actually obese according to the BMI, but I think there's a difference in the two. What it basically comes down to is your self-love and how you feel about yourself and feeling comfortable in your own skin, whether or not you're considered obese on your BMI or not, and healthy. Are your blood sugars within normal limits? Are your cholesterol levels within normal limits? I think it comes down to whether or not it's healthy and you feel great about yourself and you feel good about how you look. And it doesn't matter if somebody else thinks that you are overweight, obese, whatever. It's just all like how you feel. And honestly, being a nurse, a healthcare system kind of sucks in a sense because of the fact that the doctors, for example, I know when I was going through my health scare 2 years ago, my weight was the highest I've ever been, having the twins like 9 months earlier. And they were like, well, if you just lose weight and, that'll help some of these things. First of all, they never found out why what happened to me. But all they could point out was the fact that I was overweight. Okay, obviously, I just had twins and I'm breastfeeding. So I wasn't really working on my calories, didn't really care like about losing weight or basically didn't even have the time to even focus on that because I was nursing the twins full time, whatever. And it was just mostly like, well, working on your weight. That's all I would hear. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. But yet I had restrictions. I have so many restrictions. And I'm like, well, how do you want me to do that? Like, how do you want me to get to where you want me to be? But yet you didn't want to help me to get there. The healthcare system doesn't help you, nor do they pay for anything to help you when it comes to that. But they do a lot of shaming. And it's a lot of, well, your weight is why you have this. Your weight is why you have that. And yes, could it be true? Sure. But is that really it? That's all you have for me? Yeah,
it's kind of used as a scapegoat a lot. And then I was actually watching this girl who's done like the keto low carb, and she's cured everything that was wrong with her. But the doctors are like, well, that's not a healthy diet. And she's like, if it's not healthy, then why do I feel the best I've ever been? Why are all my blood sugars normal? Why is my eczema gone away? Why has, and so I think there's kind of a lot of people are going off of, a lot of doctors are still going off of information from 50 years ago instead of starting to do some new studies and see what's changed. Because you got to think the American diet has changed anyway. We have so much more processed food and chemicals and shit. And so it's like, you got to take all that stuff into account. Like the American diet isn't what it was 60 years ago.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think the problem that people have with this movement isn't so much like, okay, yeah, be proud of who you are. It's the reversal of like some people start skinny shaming in return, like when Adele lost all that weight, a bunch of people were mad about it. And I'm like, what? She got healthy? Like, you have to remember that just because you feel okay now and you're like in your 20s or whatever, early 30s, 20 years from now, that weight might catch up with you. And now your joints are hurting, like stuff starts to go wrong. Your body can only handle that weight for so long.
Yeah.
There's a
Absolutely.
reason that people who are in shape and work out and eat well, there's a reason they feel good and live longer, because your body has certain things that, it can only do so much. You get away with a lot when you're young, but as you get older, that stuff starts to affect you.
Yeah, because the weight gain does have an effect, just like what you said, on our longevity of our life. It's a proven fact. It's a statistic, because again, the excess fat will, excuse me, put you at risk for other things like you just mentioned. So yeah. And I think it's awful too that I think like back in the 90s, I'm going to age myself here, but I remember it was like the skinnier you were, the prettier you were, like these models, and they had zero body fat, but they looked so, in my opinion, unhealthy. And they were, a lot of them were starving themselves, eating disorders, that came out to light. This is not just my opinion. Yeah, what? I mean, how is that even good for you?
Well, and that's kind of a lot of people's point on the other side of it, is just like it was wrong to glorify these women that were extremely underweight and unhealthy.
Yeah.
You also shouldn't glorify someone that's extremely overweight and unhealthy. It's okay to be proud of yourself and comfortable in who you are, but I think there's also a gray area and a fine line where if you kind of teach these young girls that like there's nothing wrong with being overweight and there's no consequences to that, you're kind of lying to them, in the same way that showing them this unattainable stick figure body type, like you're putting a thing in their mind that isn't realistic and isn't right, isn't true. And like, yeah, it's easy to gain weight and just eat whatever you want and do whatever you want, but you have to be honest about the consequences of it. And I think it can be dangerous if you bring up these young girls to think that there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's such a great, and this is what I was saying with a lot of these issues today. Everyone wants to act like it's so black and white. And I'm like, no, there's a lot of gray area here that we could discuss. But everyone, is so into the fight that no one wants to talk about the gray area. You're either for us or you're against us, and get out of the way. There's no one wants to talk about the reality of be comfortable in who you are, be comfortable in your skin. It's okay if you gain a little pounds here and there. It's okay if you don't bounce right back after pregnancy, But also when you're like morbidly obese, 300, 400, 500 plus pounds, like it's like you're unhealthy, and it is what it is. Like, and some people might say it to be jerks, but some people might just say it, like you said, out of love and concern. Like, your body's not going to be able to do that for very much longer. And there's a reason that a lot of those people on, the My 600-Pound Life end up dying soon after, even though some of them do lose that weight from the surgery. The effects long-term on their body is too late. And these people are dying in their 30s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think like the main thing is for the younger generation and anybody listening is like, we basically not to be limited, like not to let people's opinions and stigmas out there about being overweight or obesity limit you from doing what you want to do. But at the same time, sorry, I got this like tickle, being mindful, like loving yourself, that self-love, loving yourself, but also loving yourself, accepting yourself, loving yourself to know, like, these are the changes I need to make to continue to be my best self, to continue to be the best version of myself, to continue to live my best life. That's pretty much it. Like, yes, You can be the BMI's version of obese, overweight, whatever, but to also then say, you know what, like, I love the skin that I am in. I am healthy. I don't care if I'm over the BMI. Like, I don't care. But then if it does bother me, I want to make those changes for me, not for, whatever, for my health and for me, not because somebody else is going to fat shame me. But to love yourself and still do those things. And just, you want to eat better. It's going to make you feel better. Statistically, these are things that are true. You want to go and you want to walk every day or whatever. Like, yes, these are the things, because I was going to bring up a story, but I'm share a personal story, but I'm like, maybe I better leave that person out for right now. But yeah.
And I'm coming as someone who's been there and who is there. Okay. Like, I'm in the process of losing this weight for myself, not anyone else.
Exactly.
And even Marcus doesn't care what size I am. He still thinks I'm beautiful no matter what, but he will hold me accountable if I want to cheat or something. He'll be like, no, because then you're going to be mad at yourself tomorrow, and da-da-da.
Yeah.
And it's not because he cares, but he knows that I care.
Right. Exactly. And absolutely.
And I'm not even trying to be like, I think and this is a big thing too with young girls, is this, we're kind of from a young age made to feel bad about ourselves. It's something we as women really need to work on. And that part of the acceptance movement, like, I'm okay with. Women should definitely learn how to be more comfortable in our bodies and think that we are as hot as we are. But But like I said, there's a gray area and a fine line between being, okay with yourself and also promoting something that is unhealthy. But like for me, like, I'm there, and I am finally in a place in my life where I don't want to be super skinny. I've looked at myself at different weights, and I kind of have a happy medium where I know, like, I know what size I was happy at and was able to maintain without being restricting and stuff like that. So that's kind of my goal weight.
Yeah.
Is just to get back to that point where I was comfortable in myself, but I wasn't calorie counting or over restricting or feeling bad if I had a hamburger or something,
Yeah.
And that part of the comfort I'm for. Being okay with yourself and loving yourself, I think, is a huge thing for women that we need to be better about, and to pass down to the generations of loving yourself. But like I said,
because we're so stuck in this comparison mindset that we have to look like, I'm just going to name drop, like the Kardashians, or whoever. It's like, we have to look like them or we're not pretty enough.
And social media has almost made it worse. Like, it went from seeing these models on TV to now you're staring at these women 24/7 as you're scrolling, who have who knows how many filters or Photoshop or how many hours they've spent getting surgery or whatever. You don't know if all of what you're seeing is real. The biggest thing, I forgot who said it, but they're like, never forget that social media is a highlight reel. You're only seeing the ups. You're not seeing the downs. You're not seeing what's behind the scenes. And you're seeing that, like, with those, in the last week or so, those 2 beauty pageant contestants that committed suicide.
Oh, no, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, one was like 16. She just got on the cheerleading squad and everything. Like, she was from that Toddlers and Tiara, but she was only like 16. And then the other one was at Miss USA that was, like, I think in her 20s. But it's like, you can be all this super beautiful and still have so much going on back there, feeling like you're not good enough. So that definitely is women we can work on. We can work on our own mindset and making sure not to pass that mindset down to the next generation. Let's stopping that generational curse in its tracks,
and empower each other. And like I was saying earlier, I don't think that our healthcare system in a whole, and I know this is not this isn't about our healthcare, but in a whole does a very good job at our health in general, like I said, and our mental health, and let alone offering other holistic treatments and options out there besides here's another pill. Why? Because they're not getting reimbursed for that. Here's another weight loss pill for you to do. Here's another stop smoking pill for you to do. Which then comes with other things. You ever see like the side effects listed with all these other medications that they have? That's a whole other topic for another day. But
well, that's what that girl was saying that did keto, is they wanted to give her a pill for the blood pressure and a pill for the blood sugar and all this stuff, and then she just went on keto, which isn't seen as an acceptable diet or whatever to healthcare professionals, and all the problems were gone. She solved her skin condition, her son's skin condition, her blood sugar. She wears a blood sugar monitor. It's like normal all day. And she's like, well, how did I solve all this on the bad diet? And then when I'm doing the diet that you're telling me, and she was in a calorie deficit and everything, wasn't losing weight, felt awful, all this stuff. And I'm not trying to promote keto. Everyone's body's different, but it just goes to show that sometimes you got to go out of the norm to find. But at the end of the day, she said it wasn't about losing the weight. It was about feeling healthy and being healthy. And I think that's kind of where I'm circling, going all the way around to this, is you can be comfortable in who you are, but the biggest thing is being healthy. And I think when a lot of people are talking about, you know, this overweight acceptance or fat acceptance or whatever you want to call it, they're trying to remind you that, okay, be comfortable, but also don't forget that there's a health aspect to this.
Yeah. Comfortable but cognizant. Comfortable but aware. What was I going to say that you had me thinking? Shoot, now I can't remember. It was a good thought too. Comfortable but cognizant. Oh, that's what I was going to say. You hit it. You hit what I was going to say anyways, that everybody is different. You know, we all have, like, you might not even know what you eat every day could be contributing to something, like whatever your skin condition you mentioned, you know, like she helped her son's skin condition, like let's say gluten, for example. You never even know, you might be allergic to gluten, and here you are eating all these things with gluten in it or whatever. And so, you know, you're not going to know till you change things up and you see like what works for you and what helps you to feel better and be the best version of yourself. And, you hit on it, because everybody's different. So,
and
that's what I was going to say.
I'm just going to be the one that everyone gets mad at right now, but I'm going to be real with you guys. Chairs aren't fat phobic. I don't think people necessarily are fat phobic. Some people might just be jerks, but I hate some of these phobias that they come up with nowadays. Just because someone's being honest with you about something doesn't mean they're phobic, or just because someone doesn't agree with you about a certain issue doesn't mean that they're the enemy. They just might not agree with you. I know that's a crazy concept nowadays, but like I watch these TikToks where people are like, oh, chairs are an issue with the fat community. And I'm like, because the chair doesn't fit someone that's 400 pounds, like you're not supposed, I mean, and I don't mean this to be rude, but you're not supposed to be that big. That's unhealthy to be that big. You can't start yelling at the chair manufacturing company because they're not building chairs that are withstand people that large. I'm
not laughing at that. I'm laughing because I sat in a chair and broke it when I was only like 100 and I don't even remember, 20 pounds, I think.
That was probably
the chair
just a cheaply made
in
chair.
my defense. And my boyfriend at the time, his family didn't tell me. Can you imagine how humiliated I was? But sorry, that was a digression there. But I was just, that had me thinking about the time I broke that chair.
But like, I feel like just some people have taken to the internet to just, like I said, to just join the fight. And now everyone that disagrees with you is the enemy, and everyone who says anything is a bad person. And it's
an excuse.
Yeah.
In a sense.
People just kind of find a way these days to not take any responsibility for their own actions and just kind of pushing it out to a broad source and blaming it on that source. Like, And
instead of using it to motivate you to change or to change the way you think or your actions in general, it's not even just about this, but when something like that happens, I can motivate you to get you thinking, to get you moving, to put something into action. It's automatically just like you said, caught up in the fight.
yeah, and that's a lot of what I see nowadays. And like I said, with a lot of different issues, that people are just so into the fight that no one wants to have a discussion or actually look up stuff for themselves. Like they'll just believe what they're seeing from other TikTokers and people on the internet. And then like when you try to
There's no heart to heart.
bring facts to them, they get mad about it. And now, God, I'm going to piss someone off with this, but just as an example, when the Kyle Rittenhouse thing was happening, I had a friend who was like, oh yeah, he's a racist and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, but you do realize he's shot 3 white guys, right? He was like, no, he didn't. He shot black guys. I was like, no, he shot 3 white guys. And they literally got all pissed off at me. And then I like I had to send them multiple articles. And I was like, no, he shot 3 white guys. One was like a pedophile. One was like a serial domestic abuser. Not saying that makes it right or anything, but like, it's not like he shot 3 nuns. Okay, like
3 innocent people who's never hurt a soul.
Yeah, and the 3rd guy I think was in the process of hitting him over the head with a skateboard multiple times. So it was like, but I was like, no, they were white. And see, people get so into the fight that they don't go to actually look stuff up for themselves to see if what they're spouting is the truth. They're just spouting it because they're one with the fight, and they're an ally, and they're yeah. Everyone wants to be part of a group now and be fighting against some kind of something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool, like if it's just, but don't be so into the fight that you become angry. Like, and not to get this getting philosophical now, I guess, but it's just an issue of mine. It's such a pet peeve of mine when people don't, in a day and age where we have so much information at our fingertips and people don't take the time to just go look stuff up to make sure it's true. Look up multiple sources, see if they're all telling you the same thing. Like, don't be so down in your own tunnel vision that you're only seeing people who agree with you and you're not looking outside that scope.
Yeah. And then following your heart to what's best instead of just joining the circus. No,
pretty
I'm
much.
Just kidding.
Today's world is a circus, but it's because the internet is out there and everyone's allowed to have an opinion and boast that opinion now, and there's no filter. So
yeah.
Which is fine. You're more than welcome to have your opinion. You're more than welcome to be comfortable in your own body. You're more than welcome to think the way that you think. As someone who leans a little more conservatively on my thoughts, but I grew up in Southern California. 90% of my friends don't think the way I think. And I'm okay with that. I don't care. You don't have to think like me. I'm not going to think any less of you, unless you come at me and like start calling me names or something, then obviously we'll have an issue. But I don't, I think that's a beautiful part about this country is that we can all think differently and still coexist.
Yeah. True.
But I think we should definitely do a part 2 on this, dive in a little deeper. Maybe I'll bring up some videos and like have us discuss the videos, like what we think of it.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But this was just kind of an intro into it. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about this. Don't call me any names or come at me, please. But I'm sure somebody will. Like I said, I'm not coming at this from someone who's trying to like talk down to you at all or anything. I'm coming from someone who is in the fight with you. I've been my highest. I've been my lowest. I'm currently in the middle. But someone who wants, to feel healthier and feel better.
Yeah.
Because I know that, and I was starting to feel it, that my body wasn't reacting to this stuff the same way it was when I was younger. And that's just the truth, and that's just life. And if people are saying that to you, it doesn't always mean that they're your enemy. It doesn't always mean that they're coming at you from a place of being an asshole. Sometimes you just got to give that tough love, and you got to tell people something, even if it might hurt their feelings a little bit. That's
Even
life.
if it hurts. Yeah.
The truth
Absolutely.
hurts.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think. Make sure you catch up on all the episodes.
Yes.
I'm gonna have another sale coming up here soon for the merch store because I haven't had a sale on there in a while. Make sure you check out our episode with Brian. We're gonna have him back for a future episode soon because Brian was so much fun.
Yes.
And I'm just so glad we were able to finally do this one. I like the controversial topics because people always have an opinion on it. So I guess we can do another controversial one coming up. And then I definitely want to do a part 2 of this because this was fun. Yeah, make sure you check out all the links down in the description. Make sure you check out our boys at Offshoots TV. They actually added that part where we were talking about them to their intro of their podcast.
Nice.
I love them to death. They're the nicest guys. So if you're into wrestling or your husband's into wrestling or whatever, check them out. They talk about all things. They have guests on and everything. So make sure you check them out. Everything's down there in the description. We hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your week, and we shall talk to you soon. Bye.